are back, everybody, for episode 34 here of In Hindsight, man. It was honestly a pretty big show yesterday, and today, it's really going to be pretty reminiscent of what we did yesterday, man. Yesterday we did, really we looked at the Steelers 2021 season going into week one, where they stand, kind of the preview, things we can expect, things that I would think would happen. What we're doing today, man, we're going to go division by division, team by team, and I have looked at I have looked at every team's schedule. I jotted down some interesting games for certain teams that I think would really kind of stick out to a lot of people that could be interesting, maybe playoff implicated. I don't know. But this is actually something I've wanted to do for, quite a while. And what I said yesterday was that I didn't want to do it, in July or anything like that. I wanted to really do it once we really kind of saw how teams were sitting, how teams were looking going into the season. But great news, man. This is the last Sunday until there is no NFL football, this is the last Sunday without NFL football, so that's absolutely amazing. We got Thursday night football, the opener, the kickoff of the season, Thursday night with Tampa Bay and Dallas, which is exciting. I'm telling you, man. Again, I said this yesterday on the show, there's honestly nothing better walking outside and just smelling. It's September. You just know it's football time, man. It's just an incredible feeling. It's just great, and all of us football fans were so excited. It was a big weekend of college football, so I'm sure a lot of you guys were tuning into that. I'm telling you, man, that Georgia-Clemson game, what a sleep fest that was, but good on Georgia's defense, man. They looked pretty freaking good. So, I don't know. But anyway, hopefully you guys have had a good weekend so far. You're enjoying your Sunday. Thank you all, as I say all the time, for just tuning into the show, into the channel. If you haven't hit the subscribe, if you want to, I'm not going to tell you to or anything like that. But if you want to and want to keep up with the channel, I appreciate the support. I'm trying to just keep kind of growing the channel. It takes time, man. It takes time. We've only been on YouTube for a couple months now, and it just takes time to grow it. So I would appreciate it because it just really helps and just really kind of helps the growth. And I'm just trying to reach more and more sport fans as best as I can, man. So whether you're, it doesn't matter who you like, who you support. It's all good in regards of just being able to talk sports, man. Being able to have fun debates, fun talks, everything like that. So that's always welcome here. So like I said, whoever you support, whoever you like, you're a football fan. Heck, if you're a baseball fan, if you're a hockey fan, basketball fan, we talk about everything on here, man. So everybody's welcome here. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in. But this is officially, as I said yesterday, as I've been saying the last few weeks, honestly, because I was thinking about, with football season starting up, I was thinking a little while ago, probably about a month ago or so, I was just really trying to think of ways I could integrate my schedule and change things around. So I've kind of been saying this the last few weeks as I, kind of got things figured out. So, but I've been saying, and I'm sure you guys watching are pretty up to date with this. For anyone that might be new or anything like that, this is just a heads up. So I've been doing the show Saturday and Sundays, but obviously I don't want to do anything Sunday, So what we're doing is the new podcast schedule going forward, starting this upcoming week. So starting Friday. So we're going to be doing Friday, Saturday, and Monday and Tuesday. And Fridays is going to be, we'll be talking about the game from Thursday night. Really everything that's kind of happened throughout the week in all the sports, from college to professional to you name it, So that's really we're really just going to be talking about everything that's really kind of garnered throughout the week and things that are worthy of talking about here. And it's not like I do a 3-hour show, so sometimes, I have to kind of prioritize things above other things to talk about, but that's really what it's going to be Friday, really just everything that's been going on throughout the week. We're definitely, we'll be covering that Friday. Saturday, as I am a Pittsburgh fan, I do have a show strictly in regards to talking about the Pittsburgh team, Steelers, Penguins, Pirates. Even, I'm going to integrate some Pitt College in regards of that as well, going over those kind of things. So if you are a fan of that, that's definitely something you'd want to tune into. Like I said, I did that show yesterday, so if you missed it, you definitely want to check that out if you're a Steeler fan. But yeah, so that's going to kind of be Saturdays. We'll also kind of be going in previewing the Steeler game, and things like that, whenever that is, on a Sunday, or if they play Monday, or even if they would play on a Thursday night. We would talk about it, right? And then nothing Sunday. Monday, Monday would be, just kind of me recapping and going over the Steeler game and stuff like that. And then Tuesday would just really be everything coming out of the weekend, from NFL, from college football, even college basketball, any other kind of news going around the sports world, even in hockey or basketball or things like that. Tuesday will primarily be focused on football, but we'll also integrate other things if there's really anything really interesting talking about, because that's really what Fridays are for, really just everything that's happened over the week. But if anything, really interesting or big kind of happened over the weekend, we'll integrate that into Tuesday's show. Now, if the Steelers would play on a Monday night, for example, then we would talk about that Tuesday, right? So, and then if they would play Thursday, I'd integrate that in Friday's show. So that's really kind of how it is. Fridays, it's really going to be everything that's gone on throughout the week and all of the sports world. Saturday, strictly, as I talk about the Pittsburgh teams. Monday, really, for the most part, Steelers recap, unless they play on a Monday night, then it would go to Tuesday. And then Tuesdays, we'll be talking about everything that's happened over the weekend. Strictly football, obviously, but also anything that might have been going on in baseball or hockey or basketball or anything like that. We'll obviously integrate that into Tuesday's show. So that's really how it's going to be going forward after this week. So it's kind of a new chapter, as I said yesterday, in regards to this podcast, man. But that's just a heads up to everybody if you've missed that, or if you're new to this channel. That's going to take place this upcoming Friday, after the kickoff for the NFL. So this Friday is when that's going to kick into. But I'm excited to do this show, man. I'm excited to do this show. This is probably going to be, yesterday we did like an hour and a half yesterday on the show. That's the longest I ever gone. I usually like to go between a half hour, probably 40, 50 minutes at the most. Sometimes there's a few times things have gone over an hour, but I really went into a lot of depth and detail in regards of the Steelers this year and things like that. I really put a lot of time into it. So again, if you're interested in that, check that out. That was uploaded yesterday. Again, your guys' support means everything. So, but today, like I said, we're really going to go division by division. We're going to go over each team, kind of where they stand, the outlook of the team. Like I said, I looked at each team's schedule, so these aren't blind predictions. These aren't blind thoughts. I even wrote down some games that are interesting for certain teams as well. So let's kind of get into it here, man. We're going to start on the NFC side. The NFC West. I feel like the NFC West, I know people can say the AFC North. I feel like the NFC West is the most interesting division to me this year. It's clearly loaded with a lot of talent, a lot of competition. It can be very, very competitive this year. Now, there are some question marks, but we'll get into it. But the NFC West, you have 4 teams in this division with the Rams, San Francisco, Arizona, and Seattle. Heck, all 4 can make the playoffs, man. All 4 can make the playoffs. I think all 4 have that ability to be a playoff contender, at the least. I think all 4 can honestly really compete with one another. I really do. I don't think there's one team out of these 4 that are like up here and then the others are down here. I honestly think they're really kind of intermingled with each other. But we're going to start with the LA Rams. And the LA Rams, obviously the big thing for them is acquiring Matthew Stafford this offseason, which is obviously a big upgrade over Jared Goff, no question. And I think that this could really be something to kind of rejuvenate, re-kickstart Matthew Stafford's career. I believe he's 32 years old, and he's had a good career, but he hasn't won anything. And Detroit, I really just think, wasted him away. Detroit has been a terrible team at developing talent, drafting. They've been terrible at... dude, you can go over the last 10 to 12 years in Detroit's draft. None of these guys are even on the team anymore, barely. Detroit has just done a really bad job, I think, at surrounding Matthew Stafford with really good talent. Outside of 2014, I think they've done a terrible job with it. 2014, they won 11 games. But really, for the most part of Matthew Stafford's career, he hasn't really had support. He hasn't really had good defenses. Detroit has just done a terrible job at drafting, developing talent, bringing guys in to help this guy out. And I feel like it's just really been a waste of his career. So now with the Rams, he's clearly in a much better situation coaching-wise. He's in a better situation in regards of everybody he has around him. And a lot of people think Matthew Stafford can really be a sleeper caliber MVP, kind of guy. I think he can, sure. I think Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. And this is a great situation for him. You look at the Rams, right? Everything they have right now, they did not have in Detroit. And they had the 1 year, I believe they made the playoffs 2 in 2016. But the Rams, they have a lot more for him to work with now. With Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, yes, Cam Akers we know is done. But they do have Darrell Henderson. They did bring in Sony Michel, so we'll probably see those guys intermingle a little bit. So it might not be too bad of a running game. It definitely was promising with Cam Akers, especially as he really took off. Especially, really toward the tail end of last year, especially. And now he doesn't have that. Tyler Higbee, he might get some more opportunities. But that's the thing, even for these positional players, this is going to even elevate them even more because Jared Goff is not a good quarterback. Jared Goff is not, he doesn't have an arm like Matthew Stafford does. He's not on Matthew Stafford's level of quarterback play. And guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, those two in particular, I believe they also have Reynolds, I think, a receiver, right? Don't they have Reynolds? I think they do. But this is going to elevate these guys to even a higher level. So obviously in fantasy as well, I think those are definitely two guys that aren't bad to have at all. If you want to, I was honestly thinking about maybe Cooper Kupp in my fantasy league, didn't happen. But having a quarterback play like that, I think is definitely going to rise these guys' games. It's going to make them much more effective. The Rams definitely have a top-tier NFL defense, a top 5, 100%, anchored down with Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. I know they lost John Johnson, but let me just I'm going to pull up their defense real quick so I don't forget any names here. And they have, I believe they still have, God, what's his face? No, it's not. They used to have Michael Brockers. He's gone too. Okay. Because obviously he went with Baltimore, but then that didn't work out. So I don't think he went back to the Rams. But obviously, so we see. Yeah, and Van Jefferson's another guy too. No, they don't have Josh Reynolds anymore. Okay, I thought they did. I'm sorry. But yeah, Van Jefferson's a guy who they drafted last year, I believe. They also brought in Deshaun Jackson. So you kind of have that deep threat. Van Jefferson might be able to have a bigger role than he had this year. But yeah, defensively, you got Ashawn Robinson, Aaron Donald. Kenny Young is there, who they did get from Baltimore out of that Marcus Peters trade. Leonard Floyd is there still. Jalen Ramsey. You got Darius Williams, Jordan Fuller, I think, and you got Taylor Rapp. Taylor Rapp is a guy that I think he was drafted. What year was he drafted? 2018, 2019? So yeah, John Johnson, not having him there, that is a loss for the Rams. But you have a guy like Jordan Fuller as well, who, I think can definitely try to come into his own. They definitely have a top 5 defense, man. They definitely do. I want to look up their defense so I don't forget any names here. But the Rams, I really think, aside from Tampa Bay, I really think the Rams are honestly the best team in the NFC behind Tampa Bay. I think just what they have defensively is much more. It's top 5. It's Super Bowl caliber. It's a defense that can really help carry on into the playoffs. offensively, it's going to be much more effective. It's going to be better. It's going to be, I could easily see them being one of the higher scoring offenses in the league. I really just think I really think Matthew Stafford, he was just in a piss poor situation, not just his whole career with Detroit, but especially over the last several years. 17, 18, 19, last year, even kind of early on too, but it's just been wasted away, and now he's refreshed. I think he's really going to be rejuvenated, man. I think he has a good plethora of guys around him offensively, to get the ball down the field, to get points in the end zone. I really think so. I really think this is going to work out well for Stafford. He's a very talented quarterback. I think it's going to work out really well for him. So looking at the Rams' schedule, they do start off Sunday night against the Bears, and I didn't want to be on here on this show and just pull up the schedules team by team. It was going to take way too long, so I did it before the show started. So I've already gone through the Rams' schedule. I've already looked at everybody they play. We know that they play their division, and those are definitely going to be very interesting games. But they do play, Green Bay. I believe the NFC West is playing I believe they play I'm trying to think who they all play. I think they play, who does the NFC West play? I can't remember the divisions they play this year. But, and I don't like to look at schedules, like I said, even on yesterday's show. I honestly take team schedules with a grain of salt. But I think the Rams going through their schedule, I think they're an 11-win team. I really do. And this is going into the season, obviously. You can't predict things, trades or moves, or mishaps, hiccups, injury. No, you can't predict that. But I think really where the Rams sit, top-tier defense, their offense is going to be much more effective. Yes, they lost Cam Akers, but they're still going to have guys they're going to intermingle at running back. Stafford's in a way better position. These guys are going to be elevated simply because of quarterback play. I think they're around 11-win team. I think they're probably the second best team in the NFC behind Tampa Bay. I really do. So, I think the Rams 11 wins. I do. So, now let's go on to okay, they do play Tampa Bay week 3, and they do play Green Bay week 11. I did write that down. So those were actually 3 games. I missed that. Those are actually 3 games that stood out to me for the Rams. Obviously, their Sunday night game, it is what it is. I don't really think that that's going to be much of an entertaining game for me personally. But they played Tampa Bay week 3, which is going to be very, I think, high end. Green Bay week 11. So those were just a few games that stood out to me on their schedule. Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I think out of all teams, this is the most interesting. I feel like this is the most unpredictable. The Arizona Cardinals last year were on the brink of making the playoffs. They fell short. I said this, I believe, on last week's show in regards, I was talking about the Cardinals. I think the thing that, if the Cardinals do not make the playoffs this year, I think really what concerns me, and if they don't make the playoffs, why I think what I think the issue would be. But what concerns me is their head coach. Cliff Kingsbury is entering his 3rd season, I believe, as head coach. Yeah, he is. And I just don't feel like Kingsbury, I don't like his offensive play calling. I don't think he brings much leadership. I don't think he has much control over his guys. I feel like he's kind of inept sometimes, especially in really key moments in the game. I mean, we saw, if you were watching Cardinal games last year, you would see really questionable and very bonehead play calling that wouldn't make much sense, especially in those certain times. I really think at the end of the day, that would be the key thing that would hold them back. Now, my other question about the Cardinals, and I'll get into what I like about them too. My other question about the Cardinals is a little bit defensively. Malcolm Butler is possibly retiring, who they brought in. They have Byron Murphy, who does have potential. It's there, but he's still growing, right? He's still growing. Alford, I just don't really like their cornerback situation. Outside of Budda Baker, I think the secondary is very questionable. I think especially once they face more high-powered offenses, more offenses that get the ball down the field, I think they could be in some trouble. The front seven, they bring in J.J. Watt. I like their inside linebacker core, their group there. They have J.J. Watt. They still have Peters there. I believe Zach Allen is going to be starting at the other side. They still have Devin Kennard. They have Marcus Golden, who it seems like he's only good on the Cardinals. So their front seven on paper, it does, and they're young there. They drafted Zaven Collins this year, who we'll see what he does. I think it was a questionable pick, not because of his talent, but I think it was a questionable pick because it seemed like the Cardinals definitely could have gone elsewhere, but they liked him a lot, so they took him there. Isaiah Simmons, I think, is definitely primed for, he's primed for, he's going to have a way bigger role than he had last year. Absolutely, and you still have Jordan Hicks there as well, who knows if they'll trade or not. Their front seven really isn't bad by any means. I think really you got to see some consistent pressure from some of these edge guys to really kind of help that secondary out, because that's the weakest link. And that's, aside from Kingsbury, I think their secondary is the most concerning thing to me. What I like about this team, Kyler Murray's a stud. He's getting better each year. Now, Kyler Murray still can make some bonehead plays, I think, but he had a very good season last year. He's got a plethora of offensive weapons around him with Hopkins. They bring in A.J. Green. They drafted Rondale Moore. Larry Fitzgerald isn't back right now. Maybe he does at the stretch run at the season if he feels ready. Maybe he takes a year off and he plays one more year next year. I really don't know. They also have, who's the other guy missing? They got D-Hop, A.J. Green. Oh, yeah, Christian Kirk. They still have Christian Kirk, who I don't think is too bad. I think he fits that system fairly well. And then running backs. Chase Edmonds is there. James Conner's brought in there. Their offensive line, I thought had a pretty nice showing last year. I think it's gotten better over the years. With DJ Humphries, he finally had a really nice season last year. Kelvin Beachum looks like he's going to start at right tackle. They bring in Rodney Hudson, which is definitely a huge addition. Definitely, I'd say probably their best addition all offseason. That's counting J.J. Watt. They have Justin Pugh, and I can't remember who their right guard is. I feel like that's kind of been interchangeable. Let me look. Who's the right guard? Because that's actually going to bug me. Let me see. Brian Winters. I mean, let me look at their depth chart because it's gonna bug me, honestly. Justin Murray. Thanks to the return, Justin Murray. Brian Winters' starting spot at right guard is as open as ever. Right, so we have Justin Pugh, Hudson, as we said. Okay, so Josh Jones, it seems like they've been intermingling him in a right guard as well. So it looks like it's going to be one of those three guys. But nonetheless, their offensive line, I thought, held up last year. It definitely has made strides. So I really like their offense. They're definitely going to be able to score points. I think the running back situation's interesting. It'll probably be Chase Edmonds, really, as maybe the guy that's going to get the most carries, but James Conner is definitely going to be implemented. I could see James Conner being, really implemented a lot in goal line situations. I wouldn't be surprised if James Conner becomes more of a lead back there over Chase Edmonds. James Conner, when he's on the field, and obviously as a Steeler fan, I know this, when James Conner's on the field, he's a good running back. He can break tackles. He can get those extra yards. He's not too bad receiving out of the backfield. He's not going to run routes, in regards of, if you're going to put a running back out wide, he's not going to run routes like a Le'Veon Bell or, maybe even a McCaffrey or guys of that kind of nature. But coming out of the backfield, he can still catch some passes, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if James Conner becomes more of the lead guy over Chase Edmonds in due time. But it's an interesting it's an interesting dynamic there. They're kind of two different running backs as well. So the Cardinals, they play the Browns week 6, which I thought was really interesting. They play Tennessee. They open up against the Titans. They play the Browns week 6, Green Bay week 8, which I think is the most interesting game on their schedule. And then they play Indianapolis toward the end of the season. So I was going through their schedule. I think the Cardinals definitely are going to be in the mix for the playoffs, just as they were last year. But I think it's really going to come down to their coaching to get them to that next level. And I think it's going to come down to defensively. against once they really start playing these teams, and once they start getting toward the tail end of the year and they come again against the Seattle, Rams, San Francisco in these divisions. These are going to be huge games for all the division because all 4 teams are capable of making the playoffs. I have the Cardinals sitting at 9 wins. I think that they could have another win to get in the playoffs. But I think I like them at 9 wins simply because I don't know what they're going to get out of Kingsbury. Defense is a little questionable to me. But I could bump them to 10. And I definitely think, I'm not writing them off at all. I definitely think that they're going to be in the mix for the playoffs just as we saw last year toward the tail end. But once they face these divisional teams, that's really going to be the key, I think, for everybody in that division is winning your divisional matchups, 100%. So we'll see what happens with the Cardinals. They have the potential, the ability to get in the playoffs and to be a playoff team this year. I think it's going to come down to just those few things to make that happen. Seattle, on the other hand. So let's get into Seattle here, man. Seattle opens up with Indianapolis the first week. They play the Steelers week 6 Sunday night, and they play Green Bay week 9. Those were 3 games that came off their schedule that I found really interesting. I have Seattle sitting at 9 wins as well. It's funny with Seattle because Seattle, there has been times where Seattle, I wasn't too sure about them, but they always find a way to win double-digit games and then get in the playoffs, and that could be the case this year. I like Russell Wilson a lot. The thing that concerns me with him is how we see him finish the year. He always starts hot, starting the year throughout the middle part, but then he always starts to kind of fade off. And that needs to change. Seattle's defense is the worst defense in the division. Seattle's defense was one of the worst defenses last year. It's still very concerning to me. The offensive line, wait and see, I think. Chris Carson's still there, I like. I like what Seattle has offensively. I do. I like Russell Wilson. I'm a fan of Russell Wilson. But again, this is, I really think for Seattle to get in the playoffs, and they could, it's going to come to that stretch run of games at the end of the year and Russell Wilson not fading off as we see him do. I feel like that's really the biggest key part. Finishing strong in your schedule, Seattle finishing strong in their schedule at the tail end of the year, and Russell Wilson not kind of fading off or not playing inconsistently. You know what I mean? Staying on course, staying on par. To finish that year and get them in the playoffs. So I really think that's what's going to happen with Seattle. They could be a double digit win team. They could win 8 or 9 games. I really don't know. I have them at 9 right now. Like I said, all 4 teams can make the playoffs. They all could. They all have that potential. But I think divisional games are just so important this year for them because of how good all 4 teams are and how good all 4 teams have the ability to be. So we'll wait and see on that. Seattle 9 wins. San Francisco. Here's the thing with San Francisco. Jimmy G, we know Jimmy G's most likely starting week 1. San Francisco has a nice defense. It was crazy last year. I don't think I've ever seen a team so bombarded with injuries the way San Francisco was. I feel like they're pretty reminiscent of 2019 in a way with Jimmy G back there. A lot of skilled positional players are still there. You got Deebo Samuel, who he struggled with injuries last year, and with the quarterback situation last year, I think that halted on him. I think Deebo Samuel's a talented guy. George Kittle's back. He's got to stay healthy. That's the thing with this team, man. It's going to come down to health and staying on the field. If they can do that, I think they're a playoff team. I do. Now, Jimmy G, I'm not a fan of. I don't think Jimmy G's a very good quarterback. I think defensively it helps him a lot. I think, to me, I feel like he's more of a conservative type of quarterback as well. He's not a strong-arm quarterback. I think he makes bonehead decisions a lot. I don't really think that he has the greatest IQ. I'm not a fan. I don't see it with him, man. I don't. Now, yes, he has a good winning record with San Francisco, but I think we got to put those things in perspective too. And I'm not taking away what he's accomplished. I'm not saying I don't think Jimmy G, it's not that I don't think Jimmy G can lead them in playoffs. He did that in 2019. He led them to a Super Bowl. But I think really everybody, I think the majority of the people view Jimmy G mediocre at best, honestly. And that's what he is. Now, San Francisco, they have Raheem Mostert. Again, he had injury issues last year. They draft Trey Sermon. A lot of people think Trey Sermon's going to get very involved in the offense early on, which is possible. You have Brandon Ayuk, the rookie last year, has a lot of promise. Defensively, Nick Bosa, he was hurt last year. You got Fred Warner. You still have a solid secondary. You have Verrett back there. You have San Francisco, if they're healthy, they will definitely have one of the best defenses in the league. They have a lot of talent there. Offensively, it's just still questionable to me in regards of consistency offensively and consistently getting points up simply because of quarterback play. But I think with what Garoppolo has around him, it could be reminiscent of 2019 in regards of being able to make it work. But Trey Lance now it's different though. Trey Lance is in the back, looking on. So that's the question too. Are we going to see Trey Lance at some point this year? And I think we see him if we see bad QB play or if we see Garoppolo struggle and injury, things like that. I think that's when we see Trey Lance. So it is possible that we see Trey Lance come in at some point this year. It is possible we do. And who knows if that's going to make them better. Who knows if that's going to kind of bring them down, because sometimes rookies aren't ready right away. Sometimes they need more time. I don't know. I saw mixed things from Trey Lance in the preseason, so I guess we got to wait and see. I think I have San Francisco sitting at 10 wins right now simply because I like them defensively. I think if they can be healthy mostly throughout the year, I think we could see things reminiscent of 2019, and I think that will help them, I think, against even maybe some lesser teams. Like San Francisco's not going to be a high-scoring offense, but I think having that kind of defense and maybe a reminiscent offense of what we saw back in 2019 from them, it can get the job done and do what it needs to do. You have a high caliber defense, I think, and if you're at least being an average offense, I think that you can do some good things. So I'm putting San Francisco at 10 wins, but it's gonna staying on the field, quarterback play. I think that's really what it comes down to for this team. But we'll see if Trey Lance plays or not. So San Francisco could be a double-digit win team, or, they could be less than that. I don't know, but I have them at 10 wins right now. So that's the NFC West. I got the Rams, San Francisco, Cardinals, and Seattle sitting right there. Things could change. I wouldn't be surprised, heck, if, I think you can really move all those teams around, and I wouldn't really necessarily have a problem with it. I think all four teams, I don't think there's one team that's straight above the rest. I think all four teams will be very competitive in that division this year. And all four, like I said, have the ability to get in the playoffs. So, let's go to the NFC South, man. So, obviously, Thursday night, Tampa Bay is kicking off against Dallas. Now, some interesting games from Tampa Bay this year. They play New England. They go to New England week 4. I believe that's Sunday night as well. That's going to be very exciting, I think, to see Tom Brady back in Foxborough, to see him playing. It's going to be very weird. So, Mac Jones versus Tom Brady week 4. Okay. Also, they play, where else are we at? The South is playing the NFC East and the AFC East this year. So that was really a big game for Tampa Bay. That kind of stuck out to me in that kind of realm. And hold on one second, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. I definitely think that is. Now, Dallas, honestly, I don't really think the week 1 game is going to be, I don't think Dallas is going to be able to keep par with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, their defense is one of the best in the league. You could put it at 1, you could put it at 2, 3. I definitely think their defense is a top 3 defense in the NFL. When you have that, and when you have Tom Brady at your helm, you're winning. You're going to win a lot of games. Even if and having Tom Brady there anyway, you're going to win a lot of games. Tampa Bay really brought everybody back. They're gonna have the same exact team they had last year. Going through their schedule, I have them at 14 wins. Tampa Bay, they don't have, and again, I know I've said I don't put a whole lot of stock into schedules a lot of times, but looking at the schedule, it's an easy 13, 14 wins for this team on the schedule, man. Tom Brady, he's not going to be slowing down. I think he's probably going to have a similar year he had last year. He's got a lot of great guys to work with offensively. They have a very good offensive line, and they have a top-tier NFL defense that's a Super Bowl defense. So I don't know what to tell you at that point. I got 14 wins for Tampa Bay. I don't really even think there's really much to talk about when it comes to Tampa Bay. I think we all know what they can do. We expect them to do those things. We expect them to be at the top of the NFC and make another run for the Super Bowl. That's where Tampa Bay sits. 14 wins, number one seed in the NFC. That's what I see Tampa Bay with. Last year they were a wild card, but now I think they're going to be the number one team in the NFC this year. I really do. They're just that good, and that's how I see Tampa Bay. Let's go to Carolina. Carolina now. McCaffrey's back. Carolina's still working on their defense. They're making the right steps. Sam Darnold now's the new quarterback. Sam Darnold, we know, was in a piss-poor situation with the Jets. And I don't think it's all on him. Sam Darnold did nothing with the Jets to show that he is a starting caliber quarterback. But at the same time, I don't think the Jets did him any favors either. He had no offensive line. He had nothing to work with either. He had no running game. He had absolutely nothing to work with. So I'm not putting all the blame on him. So now this is a fresh start in Carolina now. Now he's got arguably the best running back in the NFL. A do-all kind of running back. He's got Robbie Anderson again. He's got DJ Moore. He's got who's their other wide receiver? I know Porter Samuel left. They have a couple other guys there as well to work with, but that's really the main focus there. That's a better offensive line than the Jets had. It's a complete better situation. You know, Matt Rule, he's in his second season as the Panthers coach. So this could really do Sam Darnold good. So I really think this year we're really going to be able to see what Sam Darnold is now, because now he has guys to work with. He's in a new system. He's got a new coach. He's got a better defense. He's got a better offensive line. Well, the Jets did work on their offensive line, so they did get better with that. But I really think we're going to see what Sam Darnold is this year. And I think it's a fascinating story going into the season. Looking at the Panthers' schedule, I have them around a 5-win team. I do. I don't see them. I don't think they're a better team than the Saints. I don't think they're a better team than Atlanta. I'm not saying Sam Darnold is going to fail. I think Sam Darnold, we have to wait and see what he does. There's that ability there and the potential there for him to have a successful season. But Carolina isn't there, man. Carolina isn't there. They have some nice skill positional players. I don't think they're quite there defensively, but they have some nice guys that they've drafted over the last few years. I think they're around a 5-win team. 5, maybe 6-win team. I think that's really what they're around. When I was looking at their schedule, when I was going through things, I think that's really what they're sitting at. The Saints. I think out of any team in all of football, I think that this is the team most people are... When you look at playoffs from last year to this year, I think this is the number one team that people are saying they don't think are going to make the playoffs. Sorry, my camera kind of zoned out there. I don't know why. The New Orleans Saints, man, no more Drew Brees. It's weird, man. It's weird. No more Drew Brees. I mean, all these guys that I grew up watching at quarterback, a lot of them are gone or they're very close to being gone. It's absolutely crazy. I thought maybe Drew Brees would maybe come back for one more year before he announced his retirement. He didn't. New Orleans, Jameis Winston, it's his time. Jameis Winston was the backup last year. Took a chance with the Saints. With Drew Brees retiring, he finally has that opportunity to kind of redeem himself. He hasn't lived up to a first-round pick, first-round talent. Things did not work out well for him in Tampa Bay. With the Saints, too, Michael Thomas is out. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know why he didn't have surgery early on. I mean, Sean Payton was pissed off about that. The head coach, he was pissed off. Michael Thomas decided to have foot surgery in June or July. He's going to be out the first several weeks of the season. I don't understand why he didn't have the surgery done early on to where he's going to be ready. Offensively for New Orleans, man, with Jameis Winston now at the helm, another fascinating story going into the year. How's Jameis Winston going to fare? I think this is more of a question mark than Sam Darnold. I really do. I don't think Jameis Winston... I think Jameis Winston could be successful here. But I'm very, aside from Alvin Kamara, I'm very skeptical of the guys around him. I don't know how it's going to fare out for him. I think the Saints, their defense isn't bad by any means. I think, and the thing that's kind of sucks with the Saints, man, they have to start the season because of the hurricane. They have to start the season in Florida, I think, for the first 4 weeks. So that sucks for New Orleans, honestly, and New Orleans fans. Pretty reminiscent of Hurricane Katrina and kind of what happened back then. So that's really an unfortunate thing with this hurricane, man. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So that's really an unfortunate situation for everybody. I just don't know what to think of Jameis Winston. I really don't. I think Jameis Winston, I think he could be reminiscent of Tampa Bay. Maybe he could be a little bit better. I think the big thing for him is being smarter with the football. I think the bigger thing with him is not turning the ball over. And I think really anybody will say that. But really, he has to protect the football. He's got to make smart decisions. And as long as he does that, yes, you have Alvin Kamara. There's going to be no Michael Thomas. You have Callaway. You have, what's his face from last year? I don't know why I can't remember his name. Another wide receiver for them that kind of stepped up a little bit. Michael Thomas's absence. I can't remember his name. I think I even had my fantasy team for a few weeks last year. But I think with where this offense is, I think him protecting the ball and being a lot more careful with it will, especially with what he has around him, that's going to help make things better because you have a nice defense still. I mean, the Saints' defense last year wasn't bad by any means at all. I think it was one of the better defenses last year in the NFL. And this year, I think they could replicate that. But I think with Jameis Winston, with what he has at his disposal right now, I really think he's just got to be smarter and just make smart plays and smart decisions. Because it's not like he has these guys, it's not like he has all these playmakers around him. Kind of like what we saw in Tampa Bay a little bit. You know, he doesn't really have that. Aside from Kamara, he doesn't really have that. And I think for them to be successful as an offense, you know, yes, it might not be much of a sexy offense this year. It might not be, it might not be a high scoring offense possibly. But if he takes care of the ball and if he makes smart decisions, that can bode the team well because you have a defense that you can rely on. And you do have a defense that's a playoff caliber kind of defense. So I really think that's really what he's got to do this year. I think to really find some good success. Looking at the Saints schedule, I have them around an 8-win team. I do. I just think with everything considered, I think that's what it is. I think that they're a team that will definitely be in the hunt for a wild card spot. I think they're around an 8-win team, though. I really do. I don't think Jameis Winston's going to be terrible. I don't even think he's necessarily going to be bad. But I think with what he has right now currently, he's just got to be smart, man. He's got to be smart, and we'll see if he's kind of learned, if he's kind of grown in that kind of situation. Because with what you're working with, you're going to have to play smart football. You don't have a ton of playmakers around you. Atlanta, last team in the NFC South. Atlanta was fascinating. I thought before the draft, a few weeks before the draft, even a month before the draft, a little while for it, I thought it was possible they went with a quarterback. Matt Ryan's getting up there in age. It doesn't really seem like Atlanta's not really in a win now situation. There's things they have to build with. They have to go on. That they have to work on, man. Atlanta's not a playoff team. They're not in a position to be a playoff team right now. So that's kind of why I thought maybe they would go quarterback just to kind of jumpstart that, but they didn't. They went with Kyle Pitts, who, with the absence of Julio Jones, I really think Kyle Pitts, he's going to thrive in the Atlanta offense with Matt Ryan. He is. Calvin Ridley obviously gets, he's the main guy. You got a guy like Russell Gage who, took some opportunity last year, had an opportunity. He's going to be slotted up. You have a guy like Mike Davis now, your lead back, who is very interesting. Very interesting. I don't like Atlanta's defense at all. I think their offense can put up points for sure. I think any offense led by Matt Ryan can definitely put up points. Going through the schedule, I have them around 7 wins. I think that's fair. I have them around a 7-win team. I think Kyle Pitts will definitely thrive in the offense. He will. It's not a question about Atlanta's offense. I think Atlanta's offense can definitely be one of the better offenses in productivity, yards. I think it can be one of the better offenses in regards to points a game. And I think Atlanta could be a team that kind of keeps themselves in games, but maybe falls short at the end simply because of their defense. I don't like their defense at all. I'm not big on it. Yes, they have some guys on there. I know they drafted Terrell the other year. I don't really know how they view him. Let me pull up Atlanta's defense real quick, and let's just kind of go over it. Give me 1 second. I just want to pull up their defense, kind of go over it. So, I don't think it's not a question at all about that. But I could see Atlanta. I could really see Atlanta being in a position where, kind of like what we saw with, who was it last year? Was it Detroit last year? Might have been the Chargers. I can't remember. But there was a team last year that was always kind of in the mix of the games at the tail end, but always fell short. I could see Atlanta in that same position because your offense can only do so much, right? But okay, so looking at their defensive line, Jonathan Bullard, Tyler Davidson, Grady Jarrett. They still have Deion Jones at inside. They brought in Dante Fowler. Okay, yes, AJ Terrell, Daron Harmon, who they brought in, Eric Harris, I'm honestly very unfamiliar with, and Fabian Morrow, I'm very unfamiliar with. To be honest with you guys, it's just not. And even if you're a Falcon fan, it's not a high caliber defense. It's not a defense that's going to help you stay in games. It's not a defense going to help you win games. That's just where it is. I think their offense alone is going to help them stay in games. But it's going to come down to this defense to finish things off, I think, in certain situations for this team. And I just don't see it happening. Quite frankly, I don't see it happening. There's no doubt in my mind Atlanta can be a successful offense, but it can only do so much for you. When your defense is lower tier like that and kind of unreliable, I just don't see it. It's hard to see it working out, and it's hard to see, especially when they go against higher powered offenses, when they go against offenses that might be better than theirs, that can put up more points than theirs. It's going to be hard to see that. It's going to be hard for that defense to be able to do that because that defense is just not built to be like that. So... And that's the current state of it. That's the current state of it. Atlanta around a 7-win team. 7-win team. I think they'll be one of the better scoring offenses in the league this year. I really do. But I don't think that's going to be enough for Atlanta. 7 wins. Let's go to the NFC North. Green Bay. We're going to start off with Green Bay. So obviously we know Aaron Rodgers is back. Wasted everybody's time, but he is back. Green Bay had a good year last year, but they fell short once again, as we've seen a lot of times ever since they won a Super Bowl. The offense, Aaron has Randall Cobb back, which could do him good. Aaron Jones is back. They like A.J. Dillon a lot at running back, so we might see him have a bigger role. They lost Corey Linsley. They kind of reshuffled their offensive line a little bit. Defensively, I don't really think we're going to see the defense really take a jump this year. I don't even think we're going to see their defense. I mean, they're not going to have a bad defense this year. So, some of Green Bay's games, they play Pittsburgh Week 4. Could be interesting. They play Baltimore Week 15. They play Kansas City Week 10. I believe the Ravens Week 15. I believe. But those were kind of 3 games that stuck out to me. They also play Cleveland. Like I said with the Cardinals earlier. So, I think Green Bay's around a 12-win team, looking at their schedule. We all know they're the favorite to win the NFC North. I don't see why they wouldn't be. But yeah, I think that's really where Cleveland. I really think that's where Green Bay is currently at. And so, I think that's where they're currently at. We know they're going to put up points. We know that. We know defensively, they have They have some guys back there. You got Savage back there. They did get rid of Josh Jackson. He didn't really have much of a role. Their secondary isn't too bad. Let me pull up their defense. Let's pull up their defense just like what we did with Atlanta. Yes, their offense is going to be the key part of this team. We know that. They still got Robert Tonyan at tight end. Robert Tonyan had a pretty big year. He was a nice red zone target there for Aaron. Still got Alan Lazard, obviously, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Randall Cobb. He's really kind of the only new name there defensively. So they still got Kenny Clark. Preston Smith, obviously. Devondre Campbell, they got him. They brought him in this year. Zadarius Smith, obviously Jair Alexander, one of the best corners. Kevin King, Adrian Amos, I believe his second year with the team now. And you got Darnell Savage. So it's a very similar defense that from last year. Yes, their offense is going to be the primary focus point. Really, I think the key part of the team that's really going to win, really be the main factor of winning games for them. But their defense isn't bad. I think their defense is probably a middle of the pack kind of defense. I think, and I think this team, as long as they're playing, they're definitely a lot more superior, I think, than a Minnesota and obviously the two others. So I think 12 wins for Green Bay. Those are like the 3 or 4 games that really stuck out to me. Or really those 5 games on Green Bay's schedule that really stuck out to me that could be fun and interesting. I think we see 12 wins for the Packers. Let's go to the Lions, man. The Lions, obviously there isn't one game on the schedule that is interesting because nobody cares about the Lions. Nobody who cares? There isn't anything worth of time with the Lions. It's just, and here's the thing with the Lions. It's not even that the Lions are the worst team in the league, but I'm just saying this. The Lions are boring. I think Lion fans would admit that. They aren't going anywhere this year. Again, they have a long ways to go. Detroit has a long ways to go to get back into a competitive landscape. And it's their own fault. They were there in 2014. 2015 didn't work. They got there in 16, but they can't develop talent. They can't bring people in. They just can't do it. And things have to change. We'll see if Dan Campbell changes things. We'll see if he does anything better there. I can maybe see Detroit in some certain games throughout their schedule. Maybe stay in the mix there, but I don't see it. I think 5 wins. I have them at 5 wins. Jared Goff, I've never really been a fan of Jared Goff. DeAndre Swift, I mean, I don't think he's that bad of a running back. I think they have a very good offensive line. Defense is going to be terrible. I don't like their defense at all. And they have a couple good players there, but I don't think it's going to be the worst defenses in the NFL. It's not going to be the worst defense in the NFL, but it's going to be bottom tier. They're not there, man. They're not there, and we all know this. So there just isn't one game that I care to watch Detroit, or that I care to watch the Lions in. So that's why I didn't write a game down that stuck out to me. Nobody cares. They're a boring team, and that's just the landscape of it. They're not going to be the worst team in the league. They're not the worst team in the NFL. But there's just nothing interesting about them right now. 5 wins. Chicago Bears, man. This is another interesting team. This is definitely a fascinating team, I think. Not because I think that they're this playoff team, but a fascinating team in the sense of what's going to happen with Justin Fields, right? Andy Dalton's the week 1 starter. I said this before. Andy Dalton's kind of in a sucky position, man, because Andy Dalton, I feel like really to keep that starting spot, he's got to play perfect, or almost perfect. When Andy Dalton makes a stupid throw, when he makes a bad decision, when he turns over the ball, fans are going to be wanting Justin Fields. I think the coaches and things like that, they're definitely going to, I think they'll be more patient with Dalton than fans will be. But Justin Fields is going to play this season. Andy Dalton, he's not a bad quarterback by any means. He's kind of a bridge quarterback, I think. Obviously, he had good years in Cincinnati. He got to the playoffs, didn't win any playoff games. He had a great year in 2015. He struggled last year with the Cowboys when he started, but that's not all on him. Cowboys were a disaster with injuries as well. But Andy Dalton, I actually wrote down the game I could maybe see Justin Fields come in at. And it's San Francisco in Week 8. I think You can't predict when Justin Fields is going to play because we don't know how Andy Dalton's going to do. Justin Fields could play sooner, depending if Andy Dalton obviously gets hurt. If Andy Dalton has very poor play, we will see Justin Fields sooner. If Andy Dalton is playing okay, if he's keeping the Bears, kind of above the water a little bit, we might see Justin Fields a little bit later. But the San Francisco game kind of stood out to me in Week 8 because the Bears have a little bit of a hard stretch early on with teams, and I could definitely see them losing too. I think they'll beat the Bengals. I think Dalton's homecoming against the Bengals, I think they will beat them. But, so that was one game that stood out for Dalton. But I think that Week 8 game with San Francisco, in regards to Justin Fields starting, stood out to me because it's kind of the middle part of the year. Depending where the Bears are at, if they're under 500 or things like that, they're not liking what Dalton's doing, we could definitely see, I think that's a realistic timetable to see Justin Fields possibly. I could possibly see maybe a couple weeks earlier for Justin Fields. But I think that's kind of the timetable. I think we'll see Dalton Week 1. I think we'll see him at least for maybe the first quarter of the season. And after that, I think it's kind of wait and see. Chicago, their defense isn't bad. They have good playmakers on that defense. I think they have a pretty solid defense. But offensively, right now with where they stand, I don't really care much for it. I don't really think that they're going to be that effective. I think really once we get through the first 4 weeks and even in the middle of the season, I think we'll see them at an average, maybe a little bit of a below average record. I have 7 wins for the Bears. I do. I think Justin Fields could definitely be the guy. It really just depends when they're ready to put him in. I think they're around a 7-win team. Looking at their schedule and everything like that. 7-win team. Minnesota. Let's go to the Vikings, man. The Vikings kind of had a disappointing year last year. A lot of people think the Vikings are going to take a jump forward. Kirk Cousins really wasn't bad at all last year. I'm still not a fan of Kirk Cousins. Minnesota's defense isn't too bad. I think it's around the middle of a pack kind of defense. They added Patrick Peterson to the secondary, which is cool. Dalvin Cook's a stud. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen had a great year. I think Minnesota will definitely take a leap this year. I like Mike Zimmer. I think he's a solid coach for the most part. I think Minnesota does take a leap. I have them at 9 wins. I could see them maybe at 10. I definitely think they'll be in the hunt for a playoff spot. I definitely think that they will be competitive with Green Bay a little bit. But I think 9 wins, possibly 10. They'll be in the hunt for the playoffs. They could get in as a wild card. I've seen some people think they might win the division. It's possible. But Kirk Cousins has a good plethora of guys around him, a lot of talent offensively. They're not a low-tier defense. I think they're kind of a middle-of-the-pack defense with where they stand currently. And I think it might do enough to help them reach 10 wins and things like that. So I think 9 wins for Minnesota and everything like that. I think really for them to help out, they really just got to take care of the Bears and the Lions in their division, and I think that could help them get over the hump. But it could be something coming toward the end of the year as well for the Vikings, trying to get into a playoff spot, being in the hunt, where they're going to have to go on a good stretch of wins. So we'll see what happens there with the Vikings. But I think right now 9 wins. I think 9 wins is the number for them. But they could win. I think they could win another game or two. I do. Guess we'll see come the end of the year. NFC East, man. NFC East. The worst division in football again. We're going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys. So, Dak Prescott's back. He hasn't played in the preseason. We don't know how he's going to play. We don't know how he's feeling. I've come across that he still might not be 100%, but he's going to be ready to go the first week. Dallas, aside from San Francisco, was very injury-riddled, man. Very injury-riddled. Dallas still has a very top-tier offensive line. Zach Martin, who's revealed today, he's going to be out Thursday night with COVID again. He's fully vaccinated, too. And I said this before, I don't understand why the NFL is still just testing everybody who's fully... I don't get it. I just don't see eye to eye on that. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. But I don't see eye to eye in regards of still being on these guys that are fully vaccinated. I just don't get it. How long we can do that for? How long are we going to do that for? Let me know. Dallas, anyway. Offensively, they could be an interesting team. They could be a fun team offensively. If Dak Prescott's feeling good, if he's feeling good, if he's moving around well, They could be a fun team offensively. Amari Cooper, top 15 wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb had a nice rookie year. I think he's gonna be a guy that takes that leap. Ezekiel Elliott's there. You still have a top tier offensive line. You still got Michael Gallup. The defense is the biggest concern, man. I think any Cowboy fan will tell you that. Micah Parsons, first round pick. Yeah, I think Micah Parsons will be a solid player for them. I like him as long as Vander Esch is healthy. I like that. I like that combo. Let's look up Dallas' defense. Here. I think the Cowboys are a little reminiscent to the Cardinals in a way, defensively. I think the Cardinals have a little bit of a better defense. But here we go. Let's look at the Cowboys' defense, man, going into week 1. I don't think Dallas. I don't think Dallas is really going to keep up to par with the Buccaneers. I think Tom Brady's going to shred this secondary. I think the Buccaneers are just going to be way too much to handle for this defense. So DeMarcus Lawrence, very good defensive lineman. He's obviously there. Carlos Watkins, Osa. I can't pronounce his last name. Randy Gregory's back. He's questionable. You got Leighton Vander Esch inside. Micah Parsons as well. Keanu Neal. They did bring in Keanu Neal from the Falcons. He used to play safety. They're using him. They're bringing him up at inside linebacker. They got Jalen Smith as well out there. So, their front seven really isn't too shabby. DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons, Keanu Neal. We'll see how he does transitioning. Leighton Vander Esch if he's healthy. Randy Gregory if he's playing. It's really not a bad front seven, to be quite honest with you. But I think everybody will tell you it's the secondary again. Trayvon Diggs, rookie last year, or was it the year before? I can't remember. But anyway, Donovan Wilson, DeMonte Kazi, Anthony Brown. They did bring in Malik Hooker. They still have Jordan Lewis. They have Jaron Kearse as well as another safety. I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it. With Dallas, we don't know how Prescott's feeling. We don't know how he's going to be right off the bat. But they could have a successful offense. They could have a very productive offense. I feel like it's a little bit reminiscent with the Cardinals in a way, in the sense of they can both score some points. They can both get down the field. They can both be an effective offense against really whoever they might play. But Mike McCarthy, I think, is a big question mark for this team, just as Kingsbury. Their front seven isn't too shabby at all. Their secondary is a big concern. I think with where Dallas stands in regards to coaching, I think when it comes with question marks with Prescott currently, I think defensively, I still don't think it's a very good defense. I think their front seven, from their defensive line to their inside linebackers, they have good talent there. But we saw the struggles last year too, and we have to see how they jump back from that. The defense is just very questionable. The secondary is a big concern, I think. The front seven, they have some nice pieces there, but it's a very questionable defense. I think they start 0-2, but then I think they have a nice stretch of games with Philadelphia, Carolina, New York. I think, we could see them, win those 3 games. I have them around 8 wins. I have them around an 8-win team, just as they always are. Now, if things go well, if the offense is really clicking, if Prescott's healthy throughout the year, they could maybe be a 9 or a 10-win team, possibly. I just don't see with this defense. I don't see this defense carrying them a whole lot in games. I don't see this defense being all that reliable. Again, it's not the worst defense in the league. I think it's a more bottom-tier kind of defense. I don't think it's quite in the middle of the pack. I think it's maybe around that 20 to 25 range. I really do. I think it's very questionable. Their secondary is very concerning. I think their offense can definitely help them win games. Their offense will help them stay in those games. I think around 8 wins. And looking at their schedule, that's what I came out to. I think around 8 wins. But if things go well, I think they could maybe win 9 or 10 games. Possibly. So I'm not counting out Dallas. I'm not saying Dallas has no chance in this division. They definitely could win the division. But I think things really just have to kind of go well in that regard. But I think it's not like this is a double-digit winning division. It's not like this is a tough division. So Dallas definitely has a chance to win this division. And it's not even that the Cowboys, I'm not even sitting here saying the Cowboys are a bad team. They're not. I think they're a middle-of-the-pack team. I think they're an average team. And with the face of this division, that's good enough to win this division. Being an average team is good enough to win this division. That's why I have them around 8 wins. They could hit 9. They could hit 10. Things go well. I think they'll be right there with Washington in the division. They have a chance. But we got to wait and see how things pan out. Go to Washington. One game, or they open up against the Chargers. The AFC East is playing the AFC West and the NFC South this year. Washington, we know, won the division last year. They're definitely going to have a top 5 defense this year. I think aside from Pittsburgh, they have the best front 7 in the NFL. Ryan Fitzpatrick's at quarterback, which is better than what they had last year. Antonio Gibson had a really nice rookie year at running back. They bring in Curtis Samuel. They have Terry McLaurin. Logan Thomas had a breakout year. And their defense might even be a little bit better than it was last year. So Washington, there's a lot of people that think Washington's favored to win this division again. There's a lot of people that like them. I've seen some people say that they're going to win 11 or 12 games. I don't see that at all. I think Washington's a little bit above Dallas right now. Fitzpatrick, he's been a journeyman throughout his career. He's never been a franchise quarterback. He's not that, but he is a quarterback that he's not a slouch. He's a quarterback that can make plays. He's a quarterback that can win games, and we saw that with Miami as well last year. But Fitzpatrick does have good guys around him. It's not like he doesn't have anybody to work with, and that defense, he has a defense as well to carry. This is definitely a high playoff caliber kind of defense, a defense that can carry you throughout the year, 100%. I have him around a 9-win team. I think Washington's around a 9-win team. They could hit 10 wins. I don't see 11 or 12 like I've seen some people saying. But looking at their schedule, I think they're around a 9-win team. I give them the bump over Dallas because I like the state of them better than where Dallas is currently. I think it's going to be a battle of those two for the top spot if all things are well and guys are healthy. I'm skeptical about Fitzpatrick starting every game. I like guys they have offensively. They have some good playmakers there. They have a very good defense. Ron Rivera's been a very successful coach. Washington's the favorite. I think they do win this division, probably by a game or 2. 9 wins, possibly 10. But Dallas, too. I think Dallas as well. I have them at 8 because I think Washington's a branch above. But Dallas as well. If they're healthy, things are clicking well, Dallas could win this division. Dallas could be a 9, maybe a 10-win team. I think it's going to be between those two. But currently, I have Washington 1 game above Dallas. The Giants, it's crazy. I was actually, a few months ago, I actually kind of thought maybe the Giants might actually have a good chance to win this division. I like the Giants' defense. I like the progression they're making. I think Joe Judge, last year, yes, they only won 6 games, but I think Joe Judge, I think he's the right guy for the team. I do. Everybody knows the biggest question mark and the concern with this team's Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a very questionable player. I don't think he's the future of this franchise at all. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. But you have Saquon Barkley back, which is good. We have to see how he fares. They draft Kadarius Toney. They brought in Kenny Galladay. They still got Shepard. They got Evan Ingram. I like their defense. I do. Going through their schedule, they open up with Denver week 1. I believe it's in New York. I think they're a 6-win team. At first, a couple months ago, I thought that they could possibly be the head of the division. But I just don't like Daniel Jones. I don't think he can get it done there. I don't think he's going to elevate them or bring them to another level than what we saw last year. Like I said, they have an upcoming defense. I like their defense. I think their defense will probably be somewhere in the top 12 range. I really do in total defense. Joe Judge, I think he's the right guy for the job. He's got good guys around him. But Daniel Jones, I just don't see Daniel Jones elevating this team to another level this year than what we saw last year. I don't. And I think that's really the catalyst of the team. I think if this team had an average quarterback, I think that we could see them be an 8 or 9 win team. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. They start with Denver. I see 6 wins for the Giants again. I do. I think until they move on from quarterbacks, if you're a Giants fan, maybe you disagree. Maybe you like Daniel Jones. I don't know, and that's fine. But I just haven't seen anything from Daniel Jones so far in his career that spores out to me. This guy can be a franchise quarterback. This guy can lead this franchise for a long time. To me, he doesn't elevate anybody around him. And who knows? Maybe, we've seen guys like Josh Allen. Josh Allen was really bad his first 2 years. He wasn't very good at all. And last year, he had his breakout season. Will it happen with Daniel Jones? I don't know. I'm not writing the guy off. Anything can happen. But I think that's the current state of the Giants. I think they're around a 6-win team. I think it is. Last but not least in this division, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're definitely going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I don't think there's any denying that. I've never seen a team just be so unsatisfied and just hate their quarterback. Not necessarily hate, but I've just never seen a team just... A guy they draft in the second round, it's like they just don't want to give opportunity, or it's like they're already just not sold on the guy. Jalen Hurts, he didn't do anything last year in his 4 games or so he started. That was anything off the charts. But again, sometimes these guys, they need some time. They need time. And Jalen Hurts, new coach, you know what I'm saying? You bring in a little bit more offensively to help him out. We could see him be better. We could see him be better. They open up against Atlanta, I believe. What was that? Hold on a second. I wrote something down. What is that? Okay. Yeah, so they open up against Atlanta, but looking at their schedule, I honestly don't think I had them winning up until their Week 7 game against the Raiders. I could be wrong on that. Starting 0-6, I mean, that's tough. That's tough. I think they're a 4-win team. I had them around 4 wins. I'm not counting out Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is going to be bad. I'm not saying he's going to be good. He's another fascinating story going into the year. They bring in Devonta Smith. They have, I believe they got rid of Travis Fulgham. Dallas Goedert's going to have a big role in here. Miles Sanders, he's got to stay healthy. I don't like their defense at all. This team I think everybody knows this is probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. And I don't think it's because Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. I think it's just there's not a lot there. There's not a lot to work with. There's not much of a foundation there for this team. And Jalen Hurts, he can be successful because they do have a little bit more than last year to work with. And sometimes guys just need time. Young rookies, whether we see it in the first round, second round, even third round. You know what I mean? Heck, we could even see it in the later rounds where guys, aren't really ready right away and they kind of blossom. That could be the case with him. Who knows? We have to wait and see. It's a question mark with him. But I think around a 4-win team is what Philadelphia is. Let's go on to, because I wrote everything down, actually. So there you go. Let's go on to the AFC. So far, our division winners, Tampa Bay. I have the Rams, Green Bay, and I have Washington currently. Washington, as I said, I think Dallas could compete as long as they're healthy. The NFC West, I really think it could be interchangeable with teams. Minnesota, they'll be competitive. And the NFC South, I really just kind of see the other teams really just being average at best, aside from Tampa Bay. But that's really the NFC kind of outlook for the teams, not even just record-wise, but really, some games about them are really just kind of currently where they stand, how I view them, things like that. And if you agree, if you disagree with some of it, that's fine. But that's my current thoughts on that. Let's go to the AFC West. AFC West, we're going to start off with Denver. They open up, as we said, against the Giants. Denver, Teddy Bridgewater won the starting job, which is interesting. I'm not a fan of Drew Lock at all. Yes, he's only played a couple years, so again, sometimes guys need time. But Teddy Bridgewater outperformed him. They like Bridgewater more. I like what Denver has. I like what they have to work with. Jerry Jeudy, I think, is definitely primed for a better year. They got a guy like KJ Hamler. Cortland Sutton's back. Noah Fant, he's got to stay healthy. Their offensive line has been retooled more. Javonte Williams is a guy that a lot of people are high on, that he might not be the guy starting off, but he can definitely be integrated early on and integrated into the lead guy. That's interesting. Their defense, I think that they'll be a top 10 defense this year. I like what they added through free agency. They add Patrick Surtain through the draft. They have a pretty solid front seven they work with. Denver, I've seen people say, and I disagree, I have Denver as a 6 or 7 win team. I have them at 6 wins. Here's the thing. I've seen people say that Denver's going to be a double-digit win team. I don't see it. And the reason why, it's not because defense. The reason why is because I just don't see Teddy Bridgewater. We saw where they were last year as a team, right? I don't see Teddy Bridgewater elevating them to that level. Teddy Bridgewater, he's not a terrible quarterback by any means, but he's a bridge quarterback. That's what he is. He's not a franchise quarterback. I don't view him as a quarterback that's going to win a team double-digit wins, double-digit games. I don't see that happening. Now with Denver's defense, could they win some more games than they did last year? Yes. Teddy Bridgewater has a good disposal of positional skill guys around him. Yes. But I don't see Teddy Bridgewater elevating the team. That's why I have him around 6 or 7 wins. I could bump him to 7 wins. I think that's really where they stand. Secondary's very strong. Von Miller's back. Bradley Chubb's back. Their defensive line isn't too shabby. You got your offensive line isn't bad. Javonte Williams could be a key guy implemented into the offense that could bring another dynamic. I just don't see this team being a double-digit win team. I don't. It's hard. And yes, San Francisco, I know, but I think San Francisco's defense is better than Denver's. Jimmy G and Bridgewater, I don't really know who to pick for quarterback there. But, Jimmy G, he's been successful at winning games. Teddy Bridgewater really hasn't. So, Teddy Bridgewater had the opportunity last year with Carolina. Things didn't go well. Yes, we know he won those 4 games with the Saints. We know the things with the Vikings. Yes, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's a bad quarterback. I think he's an average bridge quarterback for teams. I think he's a backup. He could start games if need be. I think that's really what he is. And I just don't see that elevating Denver to winning 10, 11, or 12 games. I don't see it. I think they're around a 6 or 7 win team. I don't think their defense is top 5. I think it's around maybe that 9 or 10 range right now. I like other defenses ahead of theirs. So yes, they made good moves. On paper, their defense looks very nice. But I still like other defenses that we have seen already, and that's why I'm putting that over Denver. Could Denver finish as a higher defense than 8 or 9 or 10? Sure. But I think they're around that top 10 range. I do. And that will help them win games. That will help them stay in games. That will help Teddy Bridgewater. But I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to make enough plays. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to do enough to get Denver to the next level. Chargers, they open up against Washington week 1. Chargers are a very fascinating team. They had some injuries last year. Justin Herbert had a phenomenal year. I think this is a team that could be pretty good, that could win double-digit games. I think this is a team that could maybe win 8 or 9 games. I think right now their over-under is 9.5. I think right now, currently. But I like Justin Herbert a lot. He definitely surprised me last year. I didn't think he was going to do what he did last year. I never said that Justin Herbert was going to be a bad quarterback. I just didn't expect him to have that kind of season. And he did. He's got Austin Eckler, who he's got to stay healthy. He's got a lot of guys to work with. Chargers defense. Derwin James, man. Derwin James, a lot of people like him. Rightfully so. I like him. He can never stay healthy. So the Chargers have a fascinating defense as well. The Chargers have the tools. They have the tools. They're in the situation. They bring in a new coach. They're in the situation where they can get into the playoffs. I really think that. I really think they're a team that has the right guys to work with to make the jump from last year, what we saw, to this year and be a double-digit playoff caliber team. I really do. But there's question marks defensively in regards to guys' health and staying on the field. I have them at about 9 wins. I think they'll be in the hunt for the playoffs. I think they'll be one of the best offenses in the NFL. Defense, I like guys they have there. It is questionable in regards to guys' health because we see guys like Bosa struggle with injuries, Derwin James. Those are really 2 anchors and cornerstones of that defense. Now, they got some other guys too, but I think really at the end of the day, that's really the question mark to me with the team. But they could definitely win 10 games. They could definitely win 11 games. I think really it's going to come down to that, is really just being able to stay healthy and stay on the field for them. There's a lot of promise with Justin Herbert, man. There's a lot of good things they can do. I think as a team, I think they're set up in a good spot to take a leap from last year to this year. Absolutely. They got to stay on the field. I have them at 9 wins, but I could see them maybe win 10 games. I could see them maybe win 11 games in the wild card. I could. I think they'll definitely be in the hunt. Now, they also play Kansas City week 3, they play the Browns week 5, and Baltimore week 6. So that's kind of a tough stretch there. Those are 3 interesting games that came off to me in regards to the Chargers. But now let's go to Kansas City. Kansas City, they play Cleveland week 1. That could be fun. They play Baltimore week 2. They play the Buffalo Bills week 5. They play Green Bay week 9. They play Pittsburgh week 16. Kansas City obviously is the favorite in the AFC. Kansas City is definitely building. They're definitely building a dynasty. They've been back-to-back Super Bowls. They won one 2 years ago. They lost last year. They're a very talented team. They're coached well. We all know this. We all know this, man. We all know this. Look at their schedule. I think they win around 14 wins too, just like Tampa Bay. I think they'll probably finish again first in the AFC. It's just how they are as a team, man. Patrick Mahomes is he's like a quarterback that we just, especially this early in his career, I believe this is his 4th year as a starter, because he started 18. This is his 4th year as a starter. What he's done in 3 years is remarkable and something that I feel like we haven't really seen. So whenever you have a guy like that, you're definitely going to be a Super Bowl favorite. There is some concerns with their defense, but the thing is they make it work. Kansas City, we know Kansas City has one of the best offenses. We know how electrifying they are, but they make it work, man. They make their defense work. They're not a top 10 defense, but over the last 2 years, they've been able to make plays, man. They've been able to make those turnovers. They've been able to, come up big when needed. 14 wins for Kansas City. I don't really think there's a whole lot we need to say about Kansas City. We all know, like I said, they're a favorite. We all know that they're arguably, aside from Tampa Bay, the best team in the NFL. Anytime you have Mahomes, you're going to be a Super Bowl favorite. We know that. 14 wins for Kansas City. Vegas, they open up against Baltimore on Monday night. Vegas is going to have the new big DJ set in the end zone and the party lounge, whatever you call it. Whenever they hired John Gruden, I knew that there was no doubt in my mind he wasn't going to last long. There was no way he was finishing out his contract. No way. The Raiders, really ever since he's been in charge, or, really since he's been the coach there, I believe, 2019 was his first year? I believe, this is his 3rd year as the coach? They've really been an average team. They've really been an average team, really, for the most part. And I think that's really where they're at again. I think John Gruden, really ever since the stuff in 2019, I think that he's kind of built I think he's done fairly well in the draft. I see him around again. I think they're around really the same what we saw last year, 7-win team. I think they're just an average team. They haven't taken that leap. They've just been steady. When Gruden got there, he made some questionable choices and things like that. But really, for the most part, that's really what Oakland's been, a mediocre average team. Or Vegas. That's how I view him. Derek Carr, he's not a bad quarterback at all. I think he's a middle-of-the-pack kind of quarterback. Darren Waller had a phenomenal season. Offensive line was reshuffled this year. Defensively, let's look at their defense, man. Let's look at the Raiders' defense going into week 1. Kind of interested here just to look at who they all have listed on their depth chart. We know that they brought in Yannick Ngakoue. And we'll see. He needs to have a bounce-back year, too. But they have Ngakoue, Jonathan Hankins, Max Crosby, underrated defensive lineman, I think. Corey Littleton, Trayvon Mullen. They brought in Casey Hayward, Nevin Lawson, Trayvon Moehrig, who they drafted, and they have Jonathan Abram, who isn't. He's no slouch at safety. They don't have a bad defense. Again, I think their defense will help them win games. But again, it's very similar to last year. They're going to help them win some games. Offensively, I'm not really too crazy about. They're an average team. I think they're an average defense. They're an average offense. 7 wins for them. That's what I think. I think that they're just in the same spot. John Gruden, though, here's the question. How long is he going to stay? This is his 3rd year. I said, I bet he's there like 3 years in his contract. This will be the 3rd year. Now, it is possible that he stays a little bit longer than I thought maybe. I don't think he's done too bad in the draft. I really don't. I do like some decisions and some choices that he's made in regards to trying to kind of get the team rebuilt. But they're just not going anywhere right now, man. They did make a leap last year from the year before, I think. I think that, but I just don't see there really being that leap this year. I don't. I think 7 wins. Let's go to the AFC South. Tennessee. Tennessee's won the division. They won the division again last year. They bring in Julio Jones. I think Tennessee's around a 10-11 win team. I do. I like they open up against the Cardinals. The South is playing the NFC West and the AFC East. Right? Aren't they playing the AFC West? I think they are. Hold on. No, wait. The AFC South, they're playing the NFC West. And yeah, they're playing the AFC East. Right. NFC West, AFC East. So, Tannehill, it's crazy how much he's really been able to revitalize his career in Tennessee. We know. We know what the Tennessee offense is like. We know what it can be again this year. I think Reynolds is on the Titans. I know I said that with the Rams because he used to be on the Rams. Let me look that up. Yeah, he's on the Titans. He used to play for the Rams. That's right. So, Tennessee, I think they're the favorite to win the division. I think they're around a 10-win team, maybe an 11-win team. I think their defense kind of holds them back from getting up to that leap. There's people that like Tennessee. I saw Harry Douglas the other day say that he thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. If you don't remember, Harry Douglas used to play for the Falcons years ago. Tennessee, man, they almost got there in 2019. Last year, they had another successful season, winning their division again. I don't think Julio Jones, yes, is a big addition, and Julio Jones, I think, maybe could get back into form. He definitely can still ball. He can still play. I just don't think Tennessee, man, I don't really think that there's really much of a difference aside from Julio Jones in regards of last year to this year. Now, they could play better. They could obviously improve on different things and be a better unit than what we saw last year. But I have them around a 10 or an 11-win team, I think. And I think that's fair to say. I think they'll win their division. They're the favorite to win it. 3 years in a row now, this would be if they win. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to see the Tannehill-Julio connection. We'll see how that goes. They have a really nice balanced offense with Henry and everything involved. I'm not a fan of their defense. I don't really think there's really much to their defense really that they've done to really jumpstart that and get that into high. But it's hard to do that too. It's hard to do that. It takes time, And obviously with the Steelers, I've seen that. It takes time. But I think 10 or 11 wins is fair for the Titans, so that's where we have them. Indianapolis, Carson Wentz is ready to go. He'll be ready to go. They open up with Seattle. Indianapolis has a very underrated defense. Where the Colts sit, they won double-digit games with Phillip Rivers last year. And Carson Wentz, it's definitely a big season for him. He's back with Frank Reich. He's in a new system. I think he's in a better situation in regards to who he's got around him to work with. It's a big season for Carson Wentz to really bounce back because we know talent is there. We've seen what Carson Wentz has been able to do. We saw that his rookie year. We saw that 2017 where he was favored to win MVP before he got hurt. The last couple years or so, he's been terrible, especially last year. This is a lot of times, guys. They need a change of scenery. They need a breath of fresh air, and this could be that for him. We'll see how it goes. They won 10 games with Phillip Rivers last year. I think they're around a 10-win team again. He's got more guys to work with, I think, than what he had in Philadelphia. I think he's in a better system. He's very comfortable with Frank Reich. That's going to do him well. The Indianapolis Colts, I think they have a top 10 defense. I think they have a very underrated defense again. Kenny Moore's a beast. Darius Leonard's still there. They have a lot of guys, man. They really do. They have a lot of guys on that defense, I think. And I think they're around a 10-win team. Sorry, I don't know why my camera keeps cutting out like that. But yeah, I think that's where Indianapolis is. And Carson Wentz, aside from really the few other guys I mentioned, he's definitely another story going into this year. We're going to have to see how he pans out, because here's the thing. If he doesn't pan out with the Colts, what happens? I'd imagine they probably maybe would stick with him a little bit because he still has that contract. But what happens? If he has another poor year this year, I don't know. But there's promise. There's potential. There's potential. We'll see what happens with Carson Wentz. He's going to be fascinating, I think, to see with the Colts and how he transitions into that, and if he's really able to rejuvenate his career. We'll see. Jacksonville, I kind of want to get this going a little bit faster here. Jacksonville plays the Texans week 1. That's a win. Very interested to see Trevor Lawrence play. Etienne's obviously out. James Robinson definitely is. I never understood that pick anyway. James Robinson's back into the lead back. I think Jacksonville's a 6-win team. I think that's really what they're around. I think that's fair to say. They still have a little ways to go. I am concerned with Urban Meyer and his fit there and his chemistry with the guys. There's already been problems. I said this ever since he got hired. I bet he doesn't last more than 2 years there. It's just coaches want to bring their college philosophy. They want to bring their college system in the NFL, and it just doesn't work, man. It's a different type of game. It's a different game. I could see it being Chip Kelly 2.0 all over again for Jacksonville. I really could. But Trevor Lawrence, we know all about him. We know he has a great future. Can their defense click? Can their defense get it right? I don't know. I really think the big thing is going to be Urban Meyer and really how his players react with him this year and how, really team chemistry and everything like that. I think that's definitely something to look out for Jacksonville. 6 wins. Houston, I think they'll be the worst team in the league this year. I have them with 2 wins. 2 wins. I think they go on a winless streak as well, kind of like Philadelphia does to start the year. Tyrod Taylor's a starting quarterback. No Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson might not even play this season. I don't think teams should be in any hurry to trade for him. I talked about this last week on the show. You can go back and listen to that. It was really focused in on, is Watson worth trading for? Houston has absolutely nothing going for him. Man, Houston they really had something. 16, 17, 18, even 2019. They really had a future there, and it's crazy how just all of it diminished in front of our eyes. All of it just vaporized in front of our eyes. Hopkins, Watt, Watson, some other guys on the defense, vaporized right in front of us. I think they're a 2-win team. Tyrod Taylor starting. This guy seems to always find his way back in a starting role somehow. 2 wins for Houston. So there you go. So your AFC West winner, KC, I think we see the Chargers there at 2. I think we see the Raiders and Denver, or Denver-Oakland. You can intermingle it. I think they're both around a 7-win team. I know I said 6 wins for Denver. You could bump it up to 7, I guess. South, Tennessee, Indy, Jacksonville, Houston. But yeah, I mean, I think the AFC South, it's really Tennessee's ball game to lose. Indianapolis, as long as things go well with Carson Wentz, they'll be right there competing, I think. They have a competitive defense, a defense that can win a lot of games. Again, it comes back to quarterback play, just like with some other teams. It's what it comes down to. Let's go to the North. I'm not going to mention the Steelers because I already talked about them for an hour and a half on yesterday's show. Let's start off with Baltimore. They play Kansas City week 2. We know they open up against the Raiders. They play Indy week 5, Green Bay week 15, Rams week 17. Obviously, their games against Cleveland and Pittsburgh are always interesting. But just like the Steelers, man, I said this on last week's show. The Steelers kind of have their favorable part of their schedule is really kind of in the beginning, kind of, early in the middle. They have a very difficult time toward the tail end, and so does Baltimore, man. They got Cleveland. This is all in a row. This is in order. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Green Bay, Rams, Pittsburgh. That's a brutal end as well. And that's what I'm saying. I think all 3 of these teams in the AFC North, I think all 3 of them will be competitive with each other. I could see all 3 of it coming down to that final stretch in regards to who wins that division, who gets into the playoffs, things like that. Baltimore. Okay, I've been saying this about Baltimore, and I'm not saying because I'm a Steeler fan. You might not believe me or things like that. I always give Baltimore their due credit. I think that they're a very well-run franchise. They've had a lot of stability. John Harbaugh's a very good coach. Lamar Jackson, we all know what he's about. Where Baltimore stands right now, currently, it sucks Dobbins is out. If you're a Ravens fan, and obviously for Baltimore, it's a big blow not having J.K. Dobbins. He was definitely primed to have a really big leap this year. But I think Baltimore is still going to be able to manage well without him because they always seem to make it work. We know they're very run-oriented. They're probably going to lead the league again in rush yards as a team. They always find a way to make it work. And Gus Edwards, he's a solid running back. I think that they'll be okay in that area. I think it's very concerning Lamar Jackson's, again, his offensive skill positional players that he has. Sammy Watkins was brought in. You got Marquise Brown still. You have Duvernay. You obviously drafted Rashad Bateman, but he's out the first 3 weeks. Mark Andrews is there. The offensive line, it's not a bad offensive line. I think Villanueva is kind of questionable. I think the position at the right guard's a little questionable. But my biggest problem with the Ravens, man, I've been saying this, I think the Ravens are the most overhyped team. I'm not saying Baltimore is going to be bad. I think Baltimore is definitely a playoff caliber team. I do think that they're around a double-digit win team. I do. But I just think that they're just overhyped. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. I'm not big, I love their secondary, obviously, but I don't really like the front seven of the defense. I don't really think that they're gonna be high in regards of getting to the in regards of sacks, you know what I mean, and for loss on the quarterback. Their inside linebackers, Patrick Queen is there. They lost LJ Fort, he's out. Malik Harrison's taking a step forward into that role. They brought in Justin Houston, who definitely will help. Tyus Bowser's there. But they're going to be intermingling and rotating guys on the edge. Defensive line, Derek Wolfe, Campbell, Brandon Williams, it's really the same thing. But they're going to be interchangeable guys. And I'm not saying the Ravens defense is going to be bad. I'm just not... I don't think that their defense currently is as good as really what it's been the last 2 or 3 years. I'm just very concerned about their pass rush. I'm concerned about the interchangeable and the rotation of guys at edge and being able to get to the quarterback efficiently, consistently. I have no question in my mind that their secondary is going to be top-notch at all. I think that their offense, it's obviously very run-oriented. They're going to have a lot of success with that. But here's the thing. We saw with Lamar Jackson last year. Lamar Jackson wasn't the guy he was in 2019. It seemed like he was trying to, be more of a quarterback and try to, it didn't really seem like he was running as much last year. I think it was maybe something teams were just doing well at containing that possibly. But I think really throughout Lamar's career this year and even going forward, I think we're going to see him transition more into, throwing the ball. You know what I'm saying? And maybe not be as run-oriented as we've seen him in college and his first year. And it's hard to do that too. As Lamar gets older, how much longer can he keep up with being that kind of quarterback? Because all that movement, all that running and everything like that, as well as everything that comes in with being a starting quarterback, that's a lot of toll on your body. And I just don't know how much longer he's going to really be able to, not right now, but just down the line, I just don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do that at a consistent, efficient level. So I think maybe, I think we saw a little bit more of a passing kind of Lamar. I think we just kind of saw a step back in regards of, him running the ball last year. And I think, yes, defenses, I think, learned in regards to really how to pick up and play him well. And I think we'll probably continue to see that this year. But I am concerned about his offensive weapons as well. But the Ravens always find a way to make it work. Like I said, the Ravens are a stable franchise. They always find a way to make things work when there's questions or things like that. I think Baltimore is around a 10-win team. Again, I don't put a lot of stock in the schedule, but here's the thing. People want to crap on the Steelers' schedule. Ravens have just as hard of a schedule. So I don't know what to tell you at that point. Those are my concerns, but with the positives, I think Gus Edwards is going to be able to, be a good back for them this year. They're going to figure out the run position part. Their offensive line is pretty solid, I think. I think that they'll be able to kind of get back to having success more, running-wise and things like that. Their secondary is definitely locked down. I could definitely see them making, having a lot of turnovers on teams and things like that. And, when they face high-powered teams, I mean, they always show up to play. You know what I mean? And I think that they'll give, some of those offenses hard times and things like that. I think they're around a 10-win team. I do. But those are my concerns and my thoughts and, really why I just think Baltimore is a little bit of an overhyped team in the NFL because, I don't know, people think that, this 12 or plus win team. I don't see that. I don't. I think around 10 wins is fair for this team. I really do. I think it's fair for my concerns, and I think for the positives I said this team is fair as well. But yeah, I think they're a double-digit win team. They're a playoff caliber team. They're going to be competitive in the division with Cleveland and the Steelers, and that's really how I view them right now currently. So their defense, it's not bad by any means. I think I'm just a little bit concerned with, some positions there in the front seven. That's kind of questionable to me. I don't think their defense is going to be this top tier defense. I don't think it's going to be as good as what we saw in 2019. I don't think it's going to be really even what we saw last year. I think it's going to take a little bit of a step back, but I still think it'll still be higher tier. I just don't think it's going to be as good as a lot of these other defenses, but 10 wins is where I got Baltimore. They'll compete in the AFC North. I think they'll be pretty competitive, and they're definitely a playoff caliber team. Let's go to Cleveland. Cleveland, they play Kansas City week 1. That is tough. They also play Pittsburgh week 8. They play Green Bay week 16. Obviously, their games with Baltimore. I believe they play, their game against the Chargers is interesting. Cleveland, obviously the favorite, I think, with really everybody for the most part to win this division, understandably so. I think Cleveland got a little bit better defensively. They're ready to take a step forward, kind of get up to that next hump this season after last year. They finally made the playoffs last year. Excuse me. They won the first game against the Steelers. They won their first playoff game. They're ready to take that leap forward, I think, and that's really where their mindset is at, getting to the next leap, right? Baker Mayfield struggled early on last year, but he had a very good second half of the season and then in the playoffs. Now, here's the thing with Cleveland. I don't see why people think Cleveland's going to have this great defense. They got better defensively, but they weren't really anything that good last year defensively. They brought in John Johnson. I understand that. They brought in Malik Jackson. They brought in Jadeveon Clowney. I don't understand the Clowney excitement at all. But now their defense isn't going to be bad. I think their defense will probably be around the middle of the pack kind of defense here. But yeah, Cleveland, best offensive line in the NFL probably. They have the best running back duo. They got a great running game that Baker Mayfield has as well to rely on. Odell Beckham's back. He's got to stay healthy. They got Rashad Higgins. They got Jarvis Landry. It looks like they're looking fairly similar to last year with just some additions defensively for the most part. I think Cleveland's around a 12-win team. I do. I think, just because I'm a Steeler fan, I'm not going to crap on Cleveland. I give them their due, their due credit. They're treading the right direction. It seems like they've kind of, gotten the right coach finally. Baker Mayfield, let's see how he does. He's kind of been up and down throughout his career. So we'll kind of see how he does going forward after, helping lead Cleveland to the playoffs and win a playoff game. So Cleveland's just really in that mindset, I think, of really just getting to that next leap, getting over that first round, right? I think that's really where they're looking at, where they stand. They definitely have a lot of interesting games on their schedule. So obviously Cleveland fans definitely have every right to be excited, as they should be. So I think around a 12-win team for Cleveland. I think that they're the favorite, obviously, to win the AFC North. I think they'll be close, though, with the Steelers and Baltimore. I do. I think all three teams, they're very competitive with one another, I think, and it's going to be, I think, a race to the end in this division. So Cleveland, they're definitely sitting in the right spot, I think, and I think that's really what we can expect out of them this year. So as long as things go well and for them and if they're healthy, that's really what it comes down to. Cincinnati's definitely another interesting team. Joe Burrow's coming back. Cincinnati, they're not there yet, man. They're not there yet. They're in the right direction. They've gotten their quarterback. He has a lot to work with, man. Drafting Jamar Chase, T. Higgins had a really nice rookie year. Tyler Boyd's a very solid wide receiver. Joe Mixon, questionable offensive line, but he's got a lot to work with. Defensively, I'm not big on their defense. Jesse Bates is the anchor there, but they're just not there. They're not there. They need to do more. They're still, I think they're a couple years away. They're in the right direction. I don't know about their coach. I think it's still questionable, and you have to give them some time. I think Cincinnati's around what I have them at. I think they're a 6-win team. I do have them starting 0-3, so if you're a Bengal fan, it's not because I'm a Steeler fan. Just look at their schedule. That's how I see it, and I think they'll kind of, win some games intermingled there. But I think it's fair to say they're around a 6-win team. They're just not there. They're just not there yet. And I've seen some people say the Bengals could be a sleeper team. Okay. It's possible. But I just don't see them. I don't see them up there yet with the other 3 teams in the AFC North. Looking at the other teams on their schedule, I just don't see them getting over those teams either. 6 wins. I think Cincinnati's a 6-win team, but they're not there yet right now. I think you give them a couple more years. I think that they'll be, really where they've been targeting to be at and being back to competitiveness because they got their quarterback there. They got a good group of skill guys. I think there's just more they got to do defensively, working on that O-line. You're not going to get everything perfect. You know what I mean? It's not going to be top to bottom, top notch, this and that. No. But defensively, I think there's a lot more they got to work with. I really do. And that's a huge part in regards of being able to compete in a division, being able to get in the playoff spot. You got to have at least a defense that's a little bit reliable. You know what I mean? And I just don't think the Bengals are really there yet overall. Let's go to the AFC East here, man. Let's just wrap this up. I know this is a long video. I said this could be a long video. This might be pressing 2 hours. I really don't know. AFC East. Start with New England. Mac Jones, starting job. Cam Newton's out. Very surprising to me. I think a lot of people were surprised that Cam Newton got released. This is interesting. Another story. This is another story. But Mac Jones looked good in preseason. I was not a fan of Mac Jones going the draft. I never said he was going to be bad. It's always, he definitely has that potential, and especially being an assistant with New England could definitely do him good. New England added. They got, I think they brought in a little bit more depth offensively. I still think they have a solid defense. They start off with Miami week 1. Tampa Bay, obviously week 4 at home. That's very interesting. AFC East is playing the AFC and the NFC South. The AFC and the NFC South. Mac Jones is the rookie. He's going to have hiccups. We know that. He's going to have rookie decisions, rookie mistakes. But he could thrive. He could have a good rookie year. He could thrive with Belichick. He has 2, I think, solid tight ends with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They brought them in. Defensively, they brought in Matt Judon. Donta Hightower's back after sitting out. Stephon Gilmore, I don't think doesn't seem like he's getting traded right now, so it looks like they're going to roll with him. They don't have a bad defense by any means. I think they probably have a middle-of-the-pack defense, honestly. Maybe around that top 12 range. But obviously the story for New England is Mac Jones. Really how he looked good in regards to being able to move around, in regards to smart decision-making and things like that. Sure, he'll have his rookie mistakes, but it's going to be fun to see how he pans out with New England. I have them around an 8-win team. There's some people that like them as a playoff team this year. Okay. There's some people that have them around where I have them. I think they're around an 8-win team. I do. Look at their schedule. I think they'll split with Buffalo. They'll split with Miami. I think they beat the Jets both times. But looking at the other teams facing the NFC South, I think the Saints could be interesting with them. Obviously, Tampa Bay. You got Tennessee on your schedule. You got Indianapolis. Things like that. So, I think they're around an 8-win team. I do. That's where I have New England at. We'll see what happens. Miami won 10 games. They just missed out on the playoffs. It's Tua's time. There's going to be no mixing and matching with Fitzpatrick and Tua this year. Brian Flores, him in the front office and things like that. They've done, I think, a good job at kind of rebuilding this team. Miami, I think, will definitely have a top 10 defense. They're going to keep them in a lot of games, especially maybe there might be times Tua struggles, is what we saw last year. I don't know what to make it to him, man. There's times where, he looked good last year. There were a lot of struggles he had last year. It happens as a rookie quarterback. This is a big leap for him. Miami's wanting to roll with him and give him, continue to give him a chance. he could be on a short leash, though. If Tua doesn't do well, if he doesn't get them to where they want to be, maybe they look at another quarterback in the draft. It's possible. Tua was their first-round pick last year, I believe at number 5, I think. I don't know what to think of Tua, man. I really don't. I think Tua, again, he makes some bad decisions. To be honest with you, with where I'm at right now, I don't really think he's going to be this guy a lot of people thought he was going to be coming out of college in the NFL, that he was going to be this really high-end quarterback. I really don't. I think he can be successful. I'm not writing him off at all. They brought in Will Fuller, but he is out. They drafted Jalen Waddle. He's got a defense there to work with too. Brian Flores is definitely a highly rated coach by a lot of people. I think they're around a 9-win team. I think really it lies on Tua. I think really it's where the question lies, because they intermingled him and Fitzpatrick last year, but now you're really relying on Tua here. So Tua could make some, mistakes that could cost them games. There's times where the offense could maybe not be as productive. It's just where they stand. I mean, defensively, their strong suit of the team's the defense, for sure. But it seems like an offense to me that could be an inconsistent offense week by week. You might see some success here. You might see some roadblocks here. We got to see Tua's progression. 9 wins. That's where I see it at. Tua, it's going to be all on him this year, and I'm sure the Dolphins will probably, after this year, really evaluate everything that happened and see where they go. But we'll have to see what Tua does. I could see him, be up and down. He could make a stride this year. I think 9 wins is fair to say for them right now. The Jets, they play the Panthers week 1, which is obviously interesting for Sam Darnold. Drafting Zach Wilson, the Jets have kind of rebuilt their offensive line. I still don't really think that there's really a whole lot there. Again, kind of Wilson being in the same Sam Darnold spot, there's not really a lot there to work with. I don't like the Jets' defense. We all know the Jets aren't going to be good this year. We all know they have a long ways. We all know they have a long ways to go. I think that they're around a 4-win team. I have them starting 0-4. Looking at their schedule, Zach Wilson, the Jets just haven't been able to get the quarterback spot right, man. They just haven't been able to do it. We know that they haven't. The last time they were in the playoffs was 2015 with Fitzpatrick, the quarterback. Brandon Marshall. If you're a Jets fan, you remember that. But I think they're around a 4-win team. I don't think anybody's expecting them to be that good this year. I think they'll probably be one of the worst teams in the league. I think Jets fans, you just got to be hoping that Zach Wilson's going to work out and show a lot of good things this year, and that he can be a promising guy for this franchise. So I think that's really it at the end of the day. In regards, if you're a Jets fan, I think that's really what you're hoping for, really, to see out this year. Zach Wilson, a lot of promise. The new, Robert Saleh's the new coach. Maybe just how some of these younger guys kind of develop. I really think if you're a Jets fan, that's really what you're looking at. Then we got Buffalo, man. Wrapping up with Buffalo. Coming back, AFC East champions. They've made it to the... they lost to the Chiefs in the round for the Super Bowl, the AFC title game. Josh Allen finally had a breakout year. Got a big contract. Sean McDermott, he's done a really good job, being a stable coach, getting this franchise back on track. But I think Buffalo's a 13-win team. Looking at their schedule, I think they win around 13 games. I think they'll definitely be one of the best teams in the NFL again. Defense is okay. I don't think their defense is bad. I don't think it's a Super Bowl defense, but I think it's definitely a defense here's the thing. Their offense is obviously the strength of the team. We know they're going to put up points. The defense is going to be good enough. It might be a little bit of a bend, don't break. It's going to be good enough in regards of being able to, maybe limit some teams. It's going to be good enough to kind of keep things above water. That's really how I view their defense. Not a top 10 defense. I don't really think I don't think it's a Super Bowl caliber defense, but I think it's a defense that's going to be good enough to help them win this division, and I think it's going to be a defense good enough to just really complement how good of an offense they have. So I think 13 wins for Buffalo. There's a lot of talent there, and they're really on the right track. So we'll see what happens with the Bills, but that's it. That's it, folks. There was a lot put into, really, I guess, kind of prepping in regards to going through teams and just jotting things down and going through each team's schedule, just kind of taking time to kind of break things down off camera. Because if I didn't do this off camera, we'd be here for like 3-4 hours. So this might be a 2-hour show. You might not even watch the whole thing. If you did, I really appreciate it. But I just wanted to do this as well for myself because I thought it would have been fun to do, to really just kind of take time, go through each division, go team by team, and really just kind of give an outlook, a recap of kind of where I think they currently stand and where they do currently stand as well. And, really kind of where I see this team going forward this year, or, all these teams going forward this year, and how I see things panning out in the division and all those different kind of things like that. So I really just wanted to make a video on it. So I know this is definitely by far going to be my longest video, but I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments if you like this video, things you might agree on, disagree on, how you might think your favorite team will do, or anything like that might be of interest of talking about. But I just wanted to dedicate to really just make this show strictly this. So it's going to be a fun NFL season. There's a lot of fascinating stories going into it. There's quite a bit of divisions that are going to be fun to look out for, that are going to be competitive. You got some divisions that are going to be a landslide. But everybody's happy. Football's back. Thursday night's the first game. But that is my 2021 division by division really breakdown of each team, kind of current outlook, what I think, and really kind of where they currently stand. And really, I think what we can see from them, and I guess my own thoughts in regards to how I view them going into this year. But that's going to wrap it up here, guys. This is episode 34, and I was glad that I was able to do this video. So again, if you watched this whole thing, thank you so much. That was amazing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on everything. We're just trying to keep growing here, man. So we're going to be back here Friday, a new chapter into the show. There's going to be really a new look on kind of really everything for the most part. So I'm really excited to do that, and I'm glad that I was able to get this video going. So, thank you all again for tuning in, and enjoy your Sunday. And it's just great, man, that we can go into this week with knowing it's football time, Thursday. So, but anyway, guys, enjoy your Sundays. Have a good rest of your week this week. But again, let me know your thoughts on this video. Let me know your thoughts on my predictions, my thoughts, my mindset on where each team kind of stands. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you kind of enjoyed me, being a little more thorough and a little bit more in detailed with each team. So I appreciate it a lot. I always appreciate you guys' support, but that's it for episode 34, guys. So, like I said, hopefully you enjoyed it, and that's a wrap here for In Hindsight, entering a new chapter. And like I said, this is the last Sunday without football, so let's go. But anyway, enjoy your weekend, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you Friday. We'll see you Friday for episode 35. All right, guys, take care.